Welcome everyone. Today we'll be learning some of the strongest Deadeye build that is currently in the meta with Lightning Spears. So here we'll be comparing a build from FastAF and also Fubgun. We'll be going through the choices of unique gears and also combination of the gears for the end game, and also what are the price point for those gears. So this video will be comparing some of the best build and also looking at the budget for this build and also learning how they work. So this way, should you want to follow any of the mid-game, end-game build, you know what are the key gears to save up for and what is the state of the meta. So nevertheless, let's have a look at the gameplay of this build and let's have a look at the reason why those builds are currently the most broken build in the game. And this is much requested by our viewers to look into the Lightning Spears, and I think we've come across to some really powerful builds at the moment, even on the first week of the season 0.2. So let's have a look at the first build, and this is coming from FastAF. Big shout out and also credits for them for sharing this one. So this is a Lightning Spear build, and this is coming from the Deadeye. Both of the builds do use very similar unique items and also choices of combos that try to lower the enemy's resistance and also increase your elemental damage dealt with bonus extra damage. The first build from FastAF is a more range based build that can one-shot most of the tier 15 boss, as you guys can see over here. They have amazing one-shot potential for most of the bosses, and the map clear is pretty amazing. You can see with one hit of Lightning Spears, it wipes the entire map. Together with the ability to use utility to blink and also to do this, one-shotting everything, the build feels very fast and also very efficient. Now the budget of the build is another matter which I'll share with you guys, but the concept of the build is to deal extra elemental damage using different uniques and also lower the enemy's resistance. Together with gaining additional frenzy charges, additional presence of aura, and then lower the enemy's resistance, those builds looks very powerful. Now finally, here is the major deciding factor of which build you want to look into. Usually XS plus 4 tier 4 is the factor with over 30 million HP, and you can see the first build coming from FastAF is rather decent in dealing range damage to stay away from the boss. And I do believe it took them about 15 to 30 seconds to take down one of the strongest Uber bosses in the game, and that is great. And if you guys don't know, some of those bosses can drop some very good uber unique items, which we'll also talk about how you can be even farming for your own build. So you can see that this first build we're looking at is very great in single target boss damage, very great in map clear, and decent damage against the uber boss. But this is not all. We also have an amazing build we want to compare with Fubgun. So now coming over to Fubgun's version of the build, right away we can see the demonstration of him showing a different setup against the boss, which we'll go back to. And as we can see here, he's using a different skill that actually does even higher damage surprisingly to the boss. Now what is the highlight with Fubgun's build compared to the first build we're looking at is that yes, he still one-shots with Lightning Spears, but here he's even faster. He's riding on a mount, and also he's having the ability to acquire monster rare modifiers coming from Headhunter. This allows him to have massive buffs on top of his character and then becoming even more speedy and also more mobile in the game. In terms of the boss damage, it is incredible. He does get close and personal, but that's not a big deal. And you can see most of the bosses is getting one-shotted, and this is what I start to realize that this Deadeye is definitely broken. And you can see most of the bosses are getting one-shotted and he's scream wiping the entire map. And here there was Arbiter of Ashes. And over here you can see constantly stealing additional modifiers from monsters, and this makes him extremely powerful. We can see more demonstration of the bosses. And over here I think one of the biggest deciding factor to pick Fubgun's build as the main build to play the Deadeye is this particular part. So here is Exile, and this is the tier 4 version, and one shot he pretty much took half of the boss's HP, and on the second shot pretty much took down the boss. So compared to the first build we were looking at, this build took about 5 to 10 seconds to take down the final boss. So yes. So here are the two builds that is much requested by our viewers to learn into those builds, and big shout out to Fubgun and also over here to FastAF for sharing this build. So what we do now is we will be looking at Fubgun's build and learning how this works, but I'll also be looking into the related build coming from FastAF because he has some interesting mechanics that can be potentially combined if you want to look into a great Deadeye build. Finally, as we go through those gears, we're also looking into the pricing of some of those items, which can be selling for over 30 divine for the major items, and what are the items you can be looking for those builds for a budget version that still does some really good damage. Now, because I think Fubgun's build is going to be the most powerful, and he does have a great video guide, as you guys can see, this was just posted a few hours ago today, and he does have a version of the mid-game build. I do strongly recommend following Fubgun if you want to follow the build and also learn the build. So make sure you follow his stream and also on YouTube. So in terms of Fubgun's build, you can see the final endgame version will use 2 unique items, this particular spear and also this particular scepter. Now, this scepter is the most expensive item out of the build other than the Headhunter and also other uniques that can be higher rolled, but this is the centerpiece. So this scepter is currently selling for about 28 to 30 divines. And this scepter currently is only dropping from Arbiter of Ashes. So this is why players are farming Arbiter of Ashes for this limited drop. And if you guys want to plan into this build, or if you want to get your hands on this rare scepter to even sell it, you can look into collecting the keys and also farming Arbiter of Ashes. Right now, it's actually crazily profitable. So, other than the scepter over here, Fubgun has recommended using this amulet, which I think is a really good choice if you can get your critical rate up, because critical hit now ignores enemies' elemental resistance. And just briefly going through the other items, over here you can see increasing critical chance and now fog critical hits. So this weapon allows fog to critical hits, and this amulet allows you to have critical hits ignores monster elemental resistance. Together with the secret flame, which allows you to gain extra damage as fire and also increasing extra damage as fire. And also enemies in your presence resist elemental damage based on their lowest resistance. So those are some of the major combinations to make the build work, and those 3 are the centerpiece. Now, if you don't have money or you don't have currency for this one, Fubgun has shared a mid-game version which allows you to still make it work, but not as high in damage compared to this scepter. So those are the centerpiece for any of the build. And if we come over to FastAF, you can see he's using a similar setup. Now here with FastAF, he is using the Alpha Hull, which increases spirit and also increase presence of radius, which allows this scepter to have even larger radius, so he can be more of a range build. You can see in the Fubgun version, he's more of a close-up. He's also using this unique chest piece to dodge and also evade all hits, and also abilities to gain more frenzy charges, and also additional elemental damage using those gloves. So those are some of the interesting parts of the build. So let's have a look at the pricing point of the budgets for both of the build. The scepters that both builds use is around 28 to 30 divine. The other spear that most of the build use is around 5 to 10 exalt, which is rather cheap. You can even get a better corrupt version. And in terms of the amulet Fubgun is using, it is around 45 to 50 exalt. And yes, those ones also gives you some decent spirit, it's also not bad. In terms of the Headhunter Fubgun's using, right now it's extremely popular. It is 40 divine and the price seems to be going up. Now, Headhunter is not a must-have, but it does help you, especially farming for different rare monsters in the map, which can be very great to steal modifiers. Finally, the potion Fubgun is using is costing about 9 to 10 divines, and those 2 more are optional items that is much later in the game should you have the budget. If you have the initial budget, it is recommended in getting this scepter together with the 3 combination unique items. Now, for FastAF version of the build, the helmet, the Alpha Hull, is actually rather expensive. It's about 18 divines over here, and you can see the increasing of spirit, which will help as we go through the build. And over here you can see the chest piece, which can be quite good for both increasing of damage, for increasing cold damage, and also allow you to evade hits. But it is not cheap, it is around 18 to 20 divines. Finally, the gloves he's using, he's recommending to gain additional frenzy charges, and over here you can see it's about 10 exalt. So overall, I would say that Fubgun's early and mid-game version of the build is rather cheap as long as you have the two basic uniques that makes the build work. So this one allows you to focus critical, and here this allows your critical hits to ignore resistance. So definitely look into the midpoint build for Fubgun, that is the starting point. After that, the endgame hybrid version can use a lot of good unique items. So going with the Fubgun version or going with FastAF version can work, or you can even consider combining those two, but the budget would go much more expensive. In terms of the rest of the gears, you can see that we are stacking some of the item rarity. We're getting energy shield, additional resistance, intelligence, additional rarity, additional cold damage as attack, additional lightning damage as attack, additional resistance, and again, additional fire, lightning, or cold damage together with more rarity. Movement speed is definitely preferable with even high energy shield, additional stats, additional resistance, and anything that's related to increasing your critical damage bonus is also great. For the socketing, we're gaining additional resistance to max the resistance while having additional resistance to frozen over here coming from the charms. Now this is also the case with FastAF's version of the build, and in terms of the potions, we do have a unique potion that is currently a 9 divine. This is probably the last piece you want to go for if you want to go for this version of the build. In terms of the jewels, both players are looking for jewels that provide you with additional projectile damage, critical hit chance for attacks, which is great because when you critical hit chance, you actually ignore enemies' resistance. And over here, you can have additional damage with spears, additional critical damage bonus, additional attack bonus, additional accuracy, and also additional projectile damage. In order to get your mana going, you can also have mana on kill over here for one of the sapphires, which should help you with the mana. Now, because you guys can see in the links below, and I do recommend you follow the video guides to have a look, we can see a majority of the skills are quite similar. So I'm not going to go through all the skills, but let's have a look at the crucial skills for both of the build. For the Fubgun version, the Wind Serpent's Fury is something that allows him to do a lot of boss damage. And this is something FastAF did not take into the build at the moment, but he's using Trinity, which is also quite interesting. So for the Wind Septum, over here, this is a 6th link combined with Concentrated Effect, Blindside, Absoria, Overextend, and also Primary Armament. So this is the skill you use to one-shot the boss or two-shot the boss for the Uber boss version. For the Lightning Spear, both of the build is rather similar. And we can see in the Fubgun version, having the Fog ability is going to be amazing using this particular weapon and also this amulet through the combos. Over here, we can also see Fubgun has mounted Rora, and this is a quite good mobility skill, so I definitely recommend looking into this one. And having Royalty also means that the companion can take some damage for you as well to make the build a little more defensive, because the Deadeye can be a little squishy. Now, coming over to FastAF's version, I know I'm trying to combine two versions, so I'm trying to combine some of the best meta build and also to learn what are the highlights. So, Trinity over here is a choice of the elemental ability, which allows us to dealing elemental damage with attack hit to gain resonance for the highest elemental damage. And this in return will help you to increase more elemental damage per 50 resonance of any type. So this pretty much allows us to deal even higher damage as we deal more elemental damage. It is also combined with Herald of Ice and also Herald of Thunder, together with ability of dealing additional shock coming from the Orb of Storms, which can give us Font of Mana and also Font of Rage. So once we understand those setup of the builds, what I then recommend is have a look at the abilities of the rest of the setup. I'm not going to say that you can try to merge the two builds, but have a look at which of the version is more preferable for you, and then go from there. I'll have both of the builder's guide and also links available should you guys want to have a look. And finally, let's briefly compare the passive tree over here so we know. So firstly, the Ascension choices are the same. We're coming all the way over here for Tailwind and additional less damage taken with Tailwind. And also coming over here with Thrill of the Chase with consuming frenzy charges. This is quite similar. So if I zoom out a little bit, we can see that majority of the choices is also similar in terms of the passive. There are some small variety that is different, but most of the time the Deadeye passive is quite similar. And there may be some disparity with picking different frenzy charges, additional frenzy charge, and also over here with different nodes that will provide you with even high critical chance, which will depend on which of the part will help you your build the most. So, in summary, how would I say is that I do recommend you check out both of the build, just in case that you might have the items or the setup that you enjoy for one of the build. But in terms of the budget wise, I think the Fubgun mid-game version may be the cheaper build. Even though both builds clears the map extremely fast, Fubgun does have the ability to clear bosses even faster, which I do think is going to be a very big highlight. Again, you can just see him showing off, shocking the developers with the damage. And the ability for Fubgun to steal monsters modifiers with Headhunter is always something I really enjoy in Path of Exile 1. So, my verdict of reviewing the build and also comparing the build is that I think currently Fubgun did find an amazing broken build, and if you guys want to get onto it, I do recommend you looking into the crucial piece of the gears and then going from there. And yes, you can also be farming for some of those gears because right now those builds are very popular. Arbiter of Ash, if you get one of those scepters coming from the Arbiter of Ash, you can make close to 30 divine. I know the entry is not cheap, but this can still be a very profitable way of making some good currencies in the game by learning the latest meta build and what are the gears and what are the uniques that is going to be very popular and also very interesting in the current season. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. All the links, all the trade filters will be available for you guys should you want to pick up any of those uber or unique items that is available in the game. Keep in mind guys, some of those items will eventually fall down in price, while some of those items will go up in price. At the moment, I can see the scepters went up in price and also the Headhunter have went up in price. So should you want to follow the popular meta build, expect to have a budget over 20 or 30 divines to get the final version of the build. Now hopefully you guys found today's video helpful. Again, a big thank you to everyone on YouTube, especially our supporters and also those of you guys who's been supporting me on Patreon as well. And we do have a new feature on the Mattjestic YouTube channel. If you click onto this, you can become a member. Yes, I've added this just recently, and this will allow you to have early access to videos that is posted a few hours or even half a day earlier if you want to watch those videos a little early. But yes, this will cost money. So please be aware the membership will cost money. And if you do want to watch videos normally, those videos will still be available after 6 to 12 hours, normally on the time we post those videos. And I'll be aiming to post at least one Path of Exile video a day. And this will be including guides, tips, news update, and also the latest tricks that is discovered on both the English and also Chinese community to keep you guys updated. And if you like those videos, make sure you leave a nice comment and also leave a like for those videos. Now, before we finish, if you guys haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so because I'll be looking into the latest Path of Exile 2 news on different communities and also on our official forum, official webpage. I'll also be looking into the best build for each of the class as the meta develops with the Chinese and also the English community. So stay tuned for the latest update and also guides for Path of Exile 2. And of course, this is going to be a big month for us. And I'll try to bring you guys all of the latest content and also guides for Path of Exile 2 to come.